All right, hey people. Today is November 11th, 2025. It's about 4:15 p.m. I'm Chris Lucas. Hey, I'm just trying to do this video real quick before I go to work. A couple of days ago, I think it was Saturday night, William Albrecht did a video called Live Discussion with a Non-Catholic. In it, he was talking a lot about Mariology. Um, Now my internet was down. I was getting ready to do a show, but I couldn't do anything because my internet's down. So I saw that he was live, so I just decided to just stop by randomly and listen to see whatever he was talking about because I couldn't find nothing else live going on. And anyway, they were talking about Mariology. So I thought I would ask a question about Matthew 11 when it says, basically that no man is greater than John, born of women. And Jesus said this, right? And I said, so does the Roman Church teach that Mary is sinless also? And so I started talking to people in the chat. But just to make a long story short, I was invited to go on the show, but I did not want to go on the show because in the past, when I went on shows with my cell phone, people complained about the audio and would run me off because they're like, oh, it sounds like you're screaming or we can barely hear you. And so they would use excuses to run me off their show when a tough question comes up, right? So I wanted to have no excuses. So I just didn't even want to bother doing it. Plus, I wanted to be able to look things up. But anyway, let me just kind of get to the point and then answer him real quick. So I'm going to play the part where I get muted out of his live chat and everything.
Proto-reformers, very early reformers. Chris, you can connect with audio alone if you want, man. I've got no idea. Hold on, let me just read this briefly, brother. ABZ, Jesus is the one speaking. He is not comparing himself to John. Statement is about human beings born in the ordinary way. No, it isn't. You're drinking Robitussin that's spiked, Lucas. No, you're wrong. No, it isn't. You're very wrong. It's about the greatest of prophets. And nowhere does it say human beings born in the ordinary way. You're wrong, man. You're wrong, Lucas. You're out of your element here. Because it uses Greek. It uses a very famous Semitic idiom. Chris, Lucas, brother, you're out of your element, my friend. You're out of your element. It's using a Semitic idiom. You're wrong, my friend. Let me say meaning all. No, you're wrong, man. Chris, Lucas, brother, with all due respect, I love you, my friend, but you are out of your element. You don't know what you're talking about, brother. You don't, my.
So you heard him say that it's a Semitic idiom and that it means born of prophets, right? It's just like born of women means he's just talking, Jesus is only talking about the prophets. So I'm going to read what I wrote. And I do have screenshots too for proof that I was, blocked by his chat. But anyway, so I just kind of made this real quick before I went to work. So it's called John the Baptist Problem for the Marian Doctrine. So I asked a straightforward question in William Albrecht's chat. If Jesus said no one born of women is greater than John, how can the Roman Church teach Mary is greater than John? William invited me on the show, but my internet was out, and using a cell phone causes audio problems. So that's why I didn't join. And so I had some people in the chat saying, oh, you're a coward and things like that. And it's like, no, that's not the reason. So I want to be clear about that. So William claimed born of women is a Semitic idiom referring only to prophets. Some of his listeners also said, so is John greater than Jesus too? And which is kind of a blasphemous statement by his listeners because Jesus is not born of women. So why would you even say that unless you're implying that Jesus is not God, right? So if you're implying that Jesus is not God, that's a blasphemous statement. So obviously Jesus is not included in that statement because he's not born of women. I'll get to that later. So a born of women equals prophet only. Well, the scripture refutes that. And so look up on my screen here. Let me get myself out of the screen and make it to where you can only see this. So we can make this a little bit bigger so everyone can read it. So anyway, born of women. So now we can actually see in the Bible okay, so this is supposedly a Semitic idiom, right? Well, here's some verses. Job 14:1, man that is born of women is of a few days. Job 15:14, what is man that is born of a woman? Job 25:4, how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Right? So William is claiming that all three of these verses are saying that nope, Job is only talking about prophets because this is a Semitic idiom. According to William, this is a Semitic idiom. So whenever it says born of women, it always refers to prophets. Does that make sense to you guys? Anyone? Do you honestly think whenever you read Job 14, verse 1, Job 15:14, or Job 25:4, did you say, oh, this is only for prophets? This is only referring to prophets? No, no one did. So all three refer to all mankind, the fallen human condition. No Jew, Christian, or scholar interprets Job as prophets only are born of women. No one does that. Or born of women applies to only prophets, right? No one interprets it that way. So this phrase always means every human being born through natural birth. So when Jesus uses the same phrase in Matthew 11:11, he is speaking of the same universal category. And all of these people, Abraham, Moses, David, Isaiah, Jeremiah, all the prophets, all the prophetesses, all the righteous women, Mary, it is not a prophet only idiom. Okay, so you got to figure that one out for me and show me how that's a Semitic idiom. Where's your proof for that? Because right now I'm the one who's proving that it's not. Okay, so number two, the chat's objection. So is John greater than Jesus too? Well, this misunderstands Christ, and this is actually blasphemy. So this argument confuses the nature of Jesus. Jesus is not part of the born of woman category. In Scripture, born of woman refers to creatures who begin to exist at birth, the fallen human condition, a category Paul describes in Romans 3:23. All have sinned, right? So, yeah. So anyway, Jesus is not included because he existed before Mary. He is the eternal God, not a created being. His birth is the incarnation, not his origin. So when when the word becomes flesh, this is just the incarnation. This is not his actual birth, right? Like, you wouldn't say God just was created, or else Jesus is no longer God, right? So that would become blasphemy if you tried to interpret it that way. He was incarnated, not born, okay? So he is sinless. Anyway, okay, another one is he is the one speaking, right? So if the Romanists force Jesus into this category, they imply that he began to exist at birth. He is a fallen human being needing cleansing, and he is ranked under John. But anyway, so that's why when you say, well, if you try to say no one born of woman is greater than John, and then you try to lump Jesus in that category, or you try to use that to say, oh, he must have been referring to prophets, this kind of backfires, because now you would have to be making Jesus into a human. But anyway, William's argument also backfires because Rome calls Mary a prophetess. So even if you want to sit there and say, no, it definitely means prophets, okay, all right. If it's referring to prophets, guess what? Rome calls Mary a prophetess. So if she's a prophetess, she would be included in that. Now, I don't think that wording clearly refers to Mary being, refers to all prophets. It refers to all people born of a woman, Mary included. But anyway, So William says born of woman refers to only prophets, but Roman tradition calls Mary prophetess of the new covenant. And so Ambrose said that prophetess of the Most High. That's Ephraim. Uh, the dove whose voice uttered prophecy. So that's the Roman breviary. Breviary. And the living voice of all the prophets. So that's Pius the 12th, right? So if born of woman equals prophets, Mary is inside that category according to the Roman church, right? So that would still mean John the Baptist is greater than everyone born of women, including Mary, even if you want to argue that, because according to your own doctrines and statements from your church, you include her as a prophet, right? So Jesus' statement itself is absolute. Among those born of women, there has not arisen anyone greater than John the Baptist. This rules out Abraham, Moses, Isaiah, Jeremiah, David, Elizabeth, Mary. Only Jesus, the eternal Son of God, stands above him, and he was not really born of women, was he? Because he already existed. He just became incarnate. So, and then I'll do point number 5, because they always tie this into Luke 1, verse 28. Hail Mary, full of grace is a mistranslation. Okay, so here's the actual Greek. And that literal meaning is not hell. It means greetings, rejoice, hello. It's not a royal title. It's not an exaltation, just a normal greeting. And also, this other Greek word does not mean full of grace. It's a perfect passive participle, meaning you who have been graced, or you who have received favor, not filled with grace, not highly exalted, not overflowing with grace. The literal translation is, and I ran this through AI a couple of times, greetings, you who have been graced, the Lord is with you. Now, I'll kick out the side note. The King James only crowd, you guys, when you hold on to this King James nonsense, I want to say that, do you understand that all they did was copy from William Tyndale, and William Tyndale copied from which did he copy from the original Greek text? No, he copied from the Latin Vulgate Bible, right? And in it, since they have this high Mariology, it's like they have like Ave Maria, right? Hail Mary, right? But that's not even proper, right? If you look at the actual Greek, it's just something like greetings. That's it. It's not no exaltation, right? And then the highly favored part, highly is not even in there. So the King James Bible actually plays up to this Mariology a little bit. Because highly is not in there and hell is not in there. It should just be greetings. Hell is like more like royal and exaltation type wording. But go look at the original Greek. It's not in there. But anyway, in closing, Job 14:1, Job 15:14, Job 25:4 show born of woman is a universal phrase for all mankind. The fallen human category Jesus is not part of. William's prophet-only argument contradicts scripture and Rome's own tradition, which calls Mary a prophetess. And the chats, so everyone in his chat who was saying, so is John greater than Jesus? The objection misunderstands Christ's eternal nature, or you would have to you're either misunderstanding or you're intentionally blaspheming. Jesus himself says John is greater than all born of women, which includes Mary. And even Luke 1:28, Hail Mary, full of grace, is mistranslated. The Greek says, greetings, you who have been graced. So therefore, Matthew 11:11 completely dismantles Roman Mariology. Okay, so that's it. I got to get to work. I could only do a short video. I plan on doing something longer that can go way more into depth about all of this, but that's just a short response. I just want to get something out there. So later.